Hello, I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week. Now, Growing Degree Days has been around for quite a while. What it does is it gives you an indication of what you should be looking for in terms of bugs and diseases for your garden. And it coincides with the plants. So very often people are not going to do the Growing Degree Days and the math that's required, because what it means is that you have to record the temperatures every day above 10 degrees Celsius. Okay? And that number will end up giving you a growing degree day, and it will tell you what bugs are going to be around and at what stage of development. A lot of research has gone into this over the years, and it works. It should be used by anyone and everyone. In fact, if it was used by professionals, we could probably still be spraying. So, here's what you need to know. It's based on 10 degrees Celsius, so everything is the temperature above 10 degrees Celsius. And then you go and you measure it, and at that point, you will see what plants are at what stage of development. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through. You're looking for beauty bush in bloom. You're looking for double mock orange are blooming. Maybe even the Japanese tree lilac are still blooming. The northern catalpas are in bloom. So if you've got those, then here's the following insects that you should be looking for on these types of plants. Let's start with ash, even though ash is basically gone because of the emerald ash borer. But what you could look for on those that are still around is the oyster shell scale. Now, oyster shell scale is in the crawler and nymph stage, which means it's the easiest to kill. So now, birch. Bronze birch borer is in the larval stage, which means now is the time to kill. Cedar is for the cedar leaf miner. It's adults and larvae. Probably the best control for this one is going to be a light trimming on the outside of the hedge or the plant. The clippings must be removed from the garden, so you can't just drop them on the ground. So put a drop sheet underneath, do your trimming, gather up all the clippings, and make them gone to the street. This will eliminate these insects because that's where they all are. With cherries, or the prunus family, peach tree borer is in the adult egg and larva stage. So you can go looking there as well for them. And of course, if they're in the larval stage or the adult stage, you can control them, but egg stage you can't. Eastern tent caterpillar, you may be able to get them, particularly on a rainy day when they're in there or not coming out of their tent, or if it's cold, dark, rainy. Again, they won't come out. You may want to cut them out, or you may want to spray. It depends on where they are located on the tree. If they're out at the tips, maybe. Okay, cut them off, burn them if you want. But when you are going and cleaning them out and spraying them, you're going to have to get rid of them, usually by bagging and making them gone to the street. Deciduous trees, you've got plant bugs, aphids, leafhoppers, gypsy moth. They're all out there in the larva and the pupa stage. So if they're in larva, you should be able to get them. Aphids are born live, so easier to control. Leafhoppers are harder to control because they move quickly from plant to plant to plant, hence their names. Elm leaf beetle, not as many elms around, but there are some. The Camperdown elms have made a comeback. There is supposedly some American elms that are immune to the Dutch elm disease, so possibly, okay, they are around. Euonymus, webworm, scale, and black vine weevil. With Euonymus, you want to make sure that you are starting to control those. They are very hard to control, the insects on Euonymus. Please look at the winged Euonymus as well as the spindle trees. They're all Euonymus, not just the colorful green semi-evergreen ones. So take a look. There's Euonymus scale, black vine weevil, and webworm in there. And especially if you have a spindle tree, they just love that one. Evergreens, you're looking at spruce spider mite in the adult, egg, and nymph stage. It's basically spider mite, so you could wash them off, or insecticidal soaps, etc. Juniper scale, again, difficult to control, but they're in the crawler stage, so go for it. Larch, there is a case bearer in the larch, and it's in the adult stage. It is rather hard to control. Lilac borer is in the eggs and adult stage, therefore a little harder to control, but go for it. If you end up with a few old holes in there, just to make sure that there's nothing that you haven't missed them, take a fine wire and shove it in those holes as far as they can go. Hopefully this will kill the borer. Mountain ash, of course, mountain ash sawfly will be on the leaves, and you will find it's in the larva stage. You want to go after them. Pine, it's the shoot moth in the egg, and what you'll find is that once they hatch, you want to go after them as well. Rhododendrons and yews are susceptible to black vine weevil, which is right now in the adult stage. They're hard to control no matter what stage they're in, but necessary. And the way you'll know you've got them in the adult stage is that there will be a semicircle cut on the edge of the leaves. Roses, you're going to look at rose chafers, you're going to look at the sawflies, and they're in the larva and adult stage, so you should be able to control them. Viburnums, the leaf beetles, are out there in the pupa and adult stage, which means they're doing a lot of damage and to the leaves, and you may want to try and control those. You may also find that if you've missed it, that there is on the undersides of the tips the rows, evenly spaced, of lighter colored bark. These are the eggs that have been injected into the bark and sealed up. That's why they're done by the insect very, very logically, well spaced, and you just cut the tips off and, of course, burn them or destroy them. If you have your yucca in bloom or your elderberries in bloom, or even some of the larger grandiflora hydrangeas, then you want to take a look for the following in your garden. Again, you're going to be looking for emerald ash borer now in the adult, egg, and larva section. So we know they're there. Just assume it, but take a look as well. On deciduous trees, you're going to find there's going to be Lacanthium scales in the nymph stage, aphids, plant bugs, leaf hoppers. They're all in a stage where they can be controlled. The Euonymus, the black vine weevil, is still working its way in adult and eggs. The Euonymus scale is in the second stage or second generation of crawlers, so go after them again, okay, with an insecticidal soap. The honey locust, there's a honey locust mite, which actually gives you a speckled effect on the leaflets. You may also experience a little bit of leaf drop as well. Go after them the best you can on the smaller trees. The bigger trees, very hard because of the size, controlling them. Juniper scale is in the nymph stage, which means they're easy to control, so insecticidal soaps will work there. Silver maple, they're cottony maple scale. These are in the crawler and nymphs, so that means your summer oil, possibly even your insecticidal soaps with those. You're going to find in the pines, there's going to be red-headed pine sawfly in the larva stage, so you want to go after them because they are in that stage. White pine weevil is in the pupa and adult stage, so a little harder to control. On roses, you're going to start to see the Japanese beetle. And Japanese beetle basically loves everything, so start looking. Get out your Japanese beetle traps. Track them away from, let's say, your roses and other plants that you have that you know are susceptible. And make sure you empty them on a regular basis. And the best way to do it is take the trap, soak it in soapy water until you're sure they're all dead, then empty them out into a bag and make them gone to the street. The rose chafers will also be out there in adult stage. The rose slug sawfly will also be out there. They look like little slugs on your roses. They're out there. Two-spotted spider mites out there on your roses. Okay. So go and start looking there. The scale on pine is out there in the crawler and in the larva stage, so go after them. Spruce, the spruce bud scale, the crawlers are there, so go for it. And you know that it's bud scale, so you know that they're up close to the actual tips of each branch or branchlet and side branches as well. So go for it, and you know where to spray. There is strawberry root weevil, which is not as common around here, and it is in the adult and the egg stage on your spruce. Viburnum leaf beetle is in the adults and egg stage. Again, we covered that one a little earlier, and so follow those rules. Here's one of the most common ones and the most difficult ones to control. On the yews and on the cedars, you have Taxus Fletcher scale. Now, it's in the crawler and it's in the nymph stage, which is the easiest stage to control them. And it is hard to control scale on yews. First of all, the scale is the color of the branches and therefore difficult to see. And also the yews have a tendency to be fairly thick, and it's hard to get your insecticidal soaps in there. The black vine weevil also goes after them, as does the strawberry root weevil. And the strawberry root weevil's adult, so it's a little harder, but can be done. Same thing with the black vine weevil. Again, you will see, if you've got those two, you will see the edge of the leaf, a semicircle cut as well. And there won't be very many. This is not something you'll see a million of usually. You'll just see some, and that's the indicator that there's quite a lot actually in the ground. So those are the things that you should be looking for in your garden as you do your garden walk. You can have a coffee in one hand, and you can go and actually enjoy yourself as a garden walk and enjoy your garden, but you might want to take a magnifying glass with you and remember that you could, by your hands, spread one insect to another plant, from plant to plant to plant. So be aware of that one too. And it is a good idea that you just do this usually in fairly early morning. You'll find that most of the insects are active but not too active, and they're easier to control and sometimes easier to find and see. I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week.